2, 1.
Hey everyone, welcome to step 2 of our Rubik's tutorial. This is video number 2 in a series of 8. It's actually our 3rd video because there is an intro in there somewhere. If you haven't seen those or you're not familiar, check below. I'll put links to the other videos. And also, I should mention before we get too deep into this formula, we do have a book that outlines a lot of these steps. It's a little easier to follow depending on how much time you have and what kind of a learner you are, but it'll break down some of these scenarios and exactly which steps are involved to get you to the next step. Links to that are below as well. To recap, my name is Will. This is my daughter Aria.
Yeah.
She's 8 years old. This is a tiger. I just figured it would help. Yeah, so the name of this step is the white cross extended. So it's not a whole lot different than the previous step. If you recall in the previous step, we made this white cross. This particular one has an extra white piece in there.
It's
but
not like this.
yeah, you normally are going to have a white cross. And after step 1, you don't really care about the rest of the cube, including the middle layer, the fact that these don't really match up. Now after this step though, you are going to care. You're still going to have that white cross, but the pieces immediately below it in the middle layer are going to match on all 4 sides. So we have red, green, orange, and blue. Just like step 1, to get here you're going to have a couple scenarios. Fortunately, unlike step 1, I think step 1 had 5 scenarios and maybe even a little more depending on what was going on in the top layer. In this step, we really only have 2 scenarios and maybe a third if you include the scenario in which your work's already done. So if you got done with step 1 and you were looking and you saw that all 4 sides, all 4 of these faces match up, you could call that scenario 3. You'd be done already and you'd move on to step 3, in which case we'll see you there. Most of the time though, you're going to run into one of the following scenarios. And when you first get done with the white cross, you're going to want to just turn the top until you get at least one piece matching. Like here, I've turned it and I see that the blue sides are matching. However, when I rotate this cube, I see, well, that's not matching. That's not matching. That is matching. Okay, that's a start. The best you're ever going to do, unless you have all 4 sides matching, most of the time the best you're going to do is getting 2 sides to match. Sometimes they're going to be adjacent like they are right here. Sometimes they're going to be opposite, in which like this green and the blue are matching up fine, but then the red and the orange are not matching. Let's cover this opposite scenario first. When that happens, and this is going to be our first real formula that we get into, and I'm going to type it below. Again though, I do cover all these formulas in that pamphlet if that's easier to remember. I'll put it down below as well in the description of this video. So the formula when you get to the opposite scenario here is going to be L2, R2, D2, and then L2, R2 again. Now that might sound weird and like a lot to remember. For me, it's one of those formulas that it becomes really intuitive and you don't even really think about the steps involved, you just kind of do it. So when you hear L2 and R2, all that really means is I'm using my left hand, rotating this part of the cube twice, and R2, I'm doing the same thing on this side. What that really means is I'm taking these 2 bad sides and I'm taking these white pieces and I'm sending them down to the bottom layer. So there's L2, R2. And now a D2 is just, I'm taking these 2 pieces and I'm swapping them. That's D2. And then the last 2 steps, which are just L2 and R2 again, that's just taking these 2 white sides that I just flip-flopped and sending them back up to this top layer. So now I've got my white cross back and I managed to flip-flop the red and the orange pieces. In which case, we're done with step 2 in this scenario. Now the other scenario you can see sometimes is where you have 2 matching sides, but the bad sides for you are adjacent to one another. So right here I have red and green. When that's the case, you want to put the bad sides closest to you and to your right. So for me, I'm looking at the green and red that are flip-flopped. That's closest to me. And I have red and green to my right. And in that case, the formula for that is R2D F2, then D back R2. And again, that sounds a bit worse than it really is. Yeah, similar to last scenario, all you're really doing is you're taking these two white edge pieces, sending them to the bottom layer, switching them with one another, and then sending them back up to the top layer. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this side, send it down, we're gonna bring it over here directly underneath the other bad edge. Now I'm gonna rotate this whole piece 180 degrees. This is down in my bottom layer now, and I'm gonna bring it right back to underneath this green side. And I'm gonna send it right back up. And now it's in its new home. We have the white cross there, and now all four sides match. Those are the only two scenarios for that. It's a pretty easy step compared to everything we've been through already. And it's gonna set you up for step 3, which is the white corners. We're gonna get into that in our next video. I'll put a link to that below. What can they do if they wanna find out when we make that video?
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. And if you have questions, please post those in the comments below and we'll answer every single one of them. Thank you.